Hello, everybody. Welcome to Day 13 Live. Apologies for the time change. I'm not going to go into details because I'm actually going to use it as an example in my talk in a little bit. But I did want to at least acknowledge it and to acknowledge each of y'all for all the amazing things we're seeing in this group. And I absolutely love watching your videos and seeing your growth. I think it's really, really cool seeing my own growth through doing it. And I just want to put a little reminder in there to everybody. We're going to talk today about some self-empathy as part of today's talk. But I just want to remind everybody that I think you're doing a fabulous job. And I think you're enough. And please always remember that this group is intended as a tool. It is a powerful tool. But you are the driver. You are the wielder of that tool, right? The carpenter is not driven by the hammer. The hammer needs the carpenter. So I want you guys and gals to always remember that and to use this tool to your most advantage. And that means if you're starting to get a little overwhelmed, then you step back and you pause and you remember that everything will happen in the perfect time. So that's a little segue into today's talk, which I'm super excited about because this is like one of my favorite topics in the entire world to talk about. It's called NVC. And it's going to be very practical today. And this is not going to be a long talk. I could talk to you for hours about NVC, but I'm not going to, which is super hard for me. My intention today with this talk is to introduce you to the concept and help you decide if this is something that you want to learn more about. And then I'm going to empower you on how to learn more about it. So, what is NVC? NVC stands for Nonviolent Communication. Not crazy about the name, but they also call it compassionate communication. I like that name a lot better. This is a name coined by a man named Marshall Rosenberg. I'm going to show you his book called Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. I'm going to also show you, because this is long, and I think for a lot of people, it's not the best place to start, to be honest with you, because this is what I would recommend starting with is one of his pamphlets. Because what Marshall Rosenberg did, hey Anamaya, yes, I changed the time, and I'm going to explain that a little bit more in my talk. But what these pamphlets do, I think they're super short, to the point, powerful ways to learn really quickly, which is what I think we're all trying to do, maximize our time. This really powerful concept. But I'm going to tell you about the concept first, overview, why you might even want to consider learning about it, how I think it's super practical, and then I'll give you some tools on how to do that. And I'm going to try and keep this talk to within 15 minutes, which is not my specialty, but I really want it to just be an introduction to the concept. So, why do I love NVC? And I'm going to tell you what Marshall Rosenberg has used NVC to do, because this is why I love it. This is not just a bunch of foo-foo, woo-woo stuff. This is super practical. Marshall Rosenberg actually used this technique all over the world. He was sought after, and he helped navigate conflicts, big-time conflicts, like generational conflicts between Palestinians and Israelis, Serbians and Croatians, warring groups all over the world, Rwanda, I mean, everywhere, okay? And he also uses this to deal with family conflicts, to deal with business conflicts. So it's extremely practical, it's extremely powerful, and it's not just for women who like to communicate. This is a powerful tool for men in business, in their personal lives, and the main concept behind NVC is that it's a language. It is like learning a new language, but it's all about connection. And I'm going to read you from the very beginning of his pamphlet, where he says he developed this process called NVC, which consists of thought and communication skills that empower us to connect compassionately with others and ourselves. He says a little bit later, when I am called into a conflict resolution, I begin by guiding the participants to a caring and respectful quality of connection among themselves. His focus is on connection. And why is that relevant? I think there is nothing more relevant in Healy world. I think, when we talk about social selling, network, marketing. I mean, these all involve people, right? People. We can't do this without people. And people are about relationships, right? I think we've all seen that really that's the whole reason social selling works, is that it's about the trust that we have among one another. And so yes, that's at the forefront, but especially in a startup company, right? That's brand new in so many ways, that's growing so rapidly, experiencing so many challenges. We are going to be met with all kinds of personal relationship challenges. We are going to be triggered. People are going to be frustrated. People are frustrated, right? With things that are out of our control, with the shipping times, with the customer service. My goodness, I mean, with this email that comes from corporate about Dirk, what the heck was that about, right? We're going to be so frustrated by our lack of information. It makes we feel so powerless. And that's exactly when we need a tool like NVC. Again, a tool like NVC to help us navigate these waters. Because I think these concepts that are brought out by Rick, his weekly calls are fabulous, right? And I think about many concepts, even in child rearing, like conscious parenting, for those who have children are familiar with that. A lot in this community are. Shefali Sabar, all these people who talk about connection and compassion. But the reality is that's hard. We need some tools. At least I did. I was like, yeah, I'm all for it. And then my toddler does something and I'm like, oh wait, how do I actually do this? In the moment when we're triggered, I needed a tool. I needed a step, a language that I could go to instead of being like, what would Shefali do? I don't know. I gotta read this another book again. I need a set of verbs, a set of language, a set of nouns that I can go to, and it has been so powerful. It is probably, definitely in my top 5. I'd like to say probably my top 2 tools of my entire life in terms of dealing with people in an empathetic way. So I can't talk enough about the impact it's had in my life and the impact I've seen it have in many other people's lives. I'm wondering, I think I'm in the correct group, right? Okay, gosh, I hope I went live at 30-Day Accelerator, not just on random Facebook, but maybe one of you out there can confirm that for me. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an overview of what it is. And basically he says here, this strategy, it has been my experience that if we focus on our needs, our conflicts tend toward a mutually satisfactory resolution. Thanks, Courtney. Keeping our focus on needs, we express our needs, we understand the needs of others, and we avoid any language that implies wrongness of the other party. Whoa. Imagine that. I've found that few people are literate in expressing... Courtney, just kidding. You're not in the 30-Day Accelerator. For real? Am I really not in the accelerator? Where am I live? I wonder if I can actually move this to 30-Day Accelerator afterward. Well, we'll try it. I don't know where I'm live, but I'm going with it. So he says, for real. Courtney's saying for real. This is hysterical. What to do? I'm on my main Facebook page. How interesting. All right, we're here. We're just going to go for it. And then I'll copy this into the 30-Day Accelerator. For those who are joining me on my live Facebook page, I'm talking about something that I'm very passionate about, NVC. Applicable for the whole world. So anyway, he says, I found that very few people are literate in expressing needs. Instead, they have been trained to criticize, insult, and otherwise communicate in ways that create distance among people. Both sides play the game of who's right. That game is more likely to end in various forms of abuse, verbal, psychological, or physical, than in peaceful resolution of differences. So what's powerful about NVC is that it's actually a tool that's good for 3 things I've found. Self-empathy, actually communicating with others in a way that helps get our needs met. And what I almost think is the most powerful is in how we hear other people. So the reality is we might learn how to speak in NVC and compassionate communication, but the rest of the world hasn't. And so how do we then hear that and in our minds translate that into NVC, into compassionate communication language, so that we can actually respond from empathy instead of react, which typically happens from fear. And so that's what NVC gives us a tool to do. And from a very basic level, it's a very simple structure. And what the structure is 4 things. And I'm going to post this afterward. But the structure is observations, feelings, needs, requests. And very, very simple. And we connect with that. And I do this with my 4-year-old, okay? I do this with Nate. And it's so cool now to watch us have this system to use. And my husband and I do it. And I translate this when I hear other people talking to me. So basically, if we're going to communicate this to others and we're frustrated with something that's happening, is that what we can do is we can say, basically we're starting with an observation. So this is not a judgment. So let's say something happened, and I'm actually going to use this example of what happened tonight with me as a way that we can do this for ourselves with self-empathy. Because the reality is everything starts with ourselves. You know, we've heard this quote from so many people, right? Be the change you want to see in the world. That's just one example. We hear this quote everywhere. And my favorite was from the Yamas and Niyamas book, which is all about the yoga yamas and the yoga niyamas. But the concept was, we say we want to treat people in a certain way, compassionately, kindly. But if we're not actually doing that to ourselves, the reality is we're not doing it to others. We like to pretend we can, but we can't. If we're hard on ourselves, if we're not compassionate on ourselves, that comes across to them. The example was, it's like trying to take a blue paint can, which we are, and paint the walls in red. Doesn't work. So if we are not providing ourselves with self-empathy, the reality is we're not doing a good job of doing that with others. They're feeling that harshness. So what I noticed to myself was this. I made this commitment that I was going to go live at 8 o'clock in our 30-day accelerator group. And then all of a sudden today, and I was really excited about it because I wanted to share this amazing tool for everybody in our accelerator group. And then my father-in-law reached out and said he wanted to take Nate for the evening. And I was like, fabulous. That would be wonderful, right? I mean, how long has it been with all this craziness in the world since Chip and I have had a night off, right? Like, oh my gosh, yes. And then Chip ended up being off of work kind of last minute. And we said, let's go out to dinner, just the 2 of us. And so I got all excited. And all of a sudden, then I remembered I had this commitment. And I was just deflated. And I was like, I just want a night off. But I have to do this talk. And so all of a sudden, I was no longer excited about the subject that I was passionate about. And I went, okay. And I returned to NVC because this is what I do. And I connected with an observation, which is something that you can see or feel, something that a video camera would come up with. So an observation is when I remembered that I had made this commitment to do this talk, and then realized that I had this opportunity to just be free tonight. There's the observation. I was feeling, how am I feeling? And I pulled out my little list, okay? And I'm going to post this in our group because the reality is so many of us aren't even familiar with what feelings are. We say, I feel, and then we spout out a judgment, a thought. It's not a feeling. We just haven't been trained in this language. And I realized I was feeling disappointed. I was feeling overwhelmed. And just saying those feelings, it's like this hug, this self-hug. And then the third part, needs. What was I needing? What am I needing right now? And I realized, what am I needing? I'm needing some play. I'm needing some fun. I'm needing some autonomy. Yeah, the ability to just be free and choose what I want to do tonight. Yeah. I could just feel myself relaxing into that. And then I went to a request, right? And this is the beauty of NVC, is that so many of us focus on a strategy. A strategy is, well, I need to cancel that. I'm gonna change this up. I'm gonna cancel this. It's a strategy. It's a way to meet a need. But when we focus on what the underlying need is, and especially when this is in communication with another person, and when we realize what their need is, and I need to. Need is not, I need to go to dinner. Need is, I need autonomy, I need fun. The reality is there's 100,000 ways to meet a need. And when we connect with the needs and get clear on that, we can always come up with a strategy that meets both people's needs. And just sitting in that, it came to me, I have conflicting needs because I'm a type 1 Enneagram. I'm a perfectionist. And so the thought of changing or not living up to my commitment to do this live at 8 o'clock was, whoo, it triggers me, right? Because that's one of my needs. And I connected with my multiple needs, and I realized that my top need was for some autonomy and some fun, and to go out tonight with my husband and to celebrate us and to not have to interrupt that at 8 o'clock. And I sat in that, and when we sit in that, the whole world opens up. And all of a sudden, I came up with this new strategy, and I said, why can't I go live at 7? Why can't I, right? The reality is most people in our group are watching this when it's convenient for them, not right at 8. And that strategy can meet my need, and it could still meet their needs because they get to hear the talk. I don't have to cancel. And all of a sudden, I had a request. Would I be willing? And a request starts with, would you be willing to? Would I be willing to? And I said, would I be willing to change this time? I said, yeah, I would be. And so that's what NVC looks like. It's always going to observations, feelings, needs, requests, and it's extremely powerful. And so what I'm going to, the way I see this right now being so relevant in our world of Healy, which is such a powerful tool, and we're experiencing such growth and so many frustrations with people because of shipping challenges and whatnot, is that when someone comes at us, when someone is frustrated, and the reality is everyone is tense right now. It doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. It doesn't matter which side of the political fence, which side of the sick fence, right? I'm not going to use the C word. It doesn't matter. We're all stressed and we're all tense and we're having these tough conversations. And we're going quickly to strategies. Well, if people would just wear a mask. Well, if people just wouldn't wear a mask. Well, if people would just vote this way. And that's just a strategy. And if we could start connecting instead and talking about how we're feeling and what we're needing, what are these underlying needs, then our conversations would take on a whole different flavor. And we would be actually able to meet our need for connection, which is one of our number one human needs, for connection, for understanding, for being heard, for being seen. We would start meeting that need. And from that need, we're able to come up with strategies that do meet everybody's needs. But only when we drop the strategy and we reconnect first to our feelings and needs are we able to do that. So what that looks like when somebody comes at us with a frustration, here's an example. Oh my gosh, where in the world is my Healy? Like, I really need it. I ordered this 6 weeks ago. Where is it? I mean, this is ridiculous. Woo! Okay, that can be very triggering. So here's an observation. So your Healy hasn't arrived and it's been 6 weeks. It seems like you're feeling pretty frustrated about that. Someone's going to respond, heck yeah, I'm feeling frustrated about that. Like, this is ridiculous. Again, we connect with their feelings. So you're feeling a little discouraged, huh? Like a little discouraged that it hadn't arrived. Yeah, I am. I get that. I certainly understand. I'd probably be feeling that way too. This is empathy. This is what empathy looks like. But this is actually a tool. When we can't remember how to connect to empathy, we go back to this structure, right? And we go, okay, so what's a need? What's their need? So you're probably needing, and I'll tell you, in the beginning, I had to pause, and I had to pull this out. And the more I did that, the more I became versed in feelings and needs, and the more I was able to do it then easier without pulling this out. Oh, okay, so it looks like you're needing, you're probably needing some, oh gosh, what are you needing? Some communication from the company, right? Like, you're probably needing some updates. You were probably wanting just to be updated on what's going on. Yeah, that would be really nice. Yeah, I get it. I would want that too. And this continues until you will see a shift in the person. At time and time again, when someone feels is their need for understanding is met, when they are heard, the situation diffuses. They start to be calmer. all of a sudden that you will sense the shift. And we're going to continue on this identifying their feelings and needs. And you're not saying identify your feeling. You're just using this tool to help do it for them, right? And then all of a sudden they've started to calm down. They've gotten their need for understanding and support met. That's the number one need. And then from that space, once that happens, all of a sudden they've switched out of that. We all say we have two types of brains, your amygdala, your reptilian brain, and then your logical brain. But when someone is triggered like that, they're not thinking logically. It's actually been scientifically proven they're not. They're in a different part of their brain. Once that has been diffused, then at that point, they can actually get into a strategy. We can actually start looking at some strategies that meet everybody's needs because they have been able to be calm. They've switched into that brain. And so, again, like I said, I could sit here and talk for hours on this, but hopefully this has given you enough of an overview of how powerful this tool can be in your life that you're inspired to buy one of the pamphlets. They're on Amazon. They're $6. The book is fabulous. I've read it twice, but the reality is it's a lot easier to find the time. You can read it in bed one night. You can read it in 30 minutes. You can read it, out in the morning, having your coffee. My absolute favorite, and I have every single one. I'm going to show them to you, right? Look at all these pamphlets because they take this NVC concept and they apply it to whatever you're interested in. So the first one I read was called Raising Children Compassionately. Completely changed how I parent. I loved the philosophies of conscious parenting, but it was just really hard to figure out how to implement that. I needed some tools. I needed a real, some verbiage around it. And this provided that. And it provided the inspiration in that moment when you just want to fly off the handle and have your child do what you want them to do. It provided the motivation and the reasoning for why I am doing this, why I'm connecting with them empathetically, why I'm helping them to, it's about the why you want your kids to do something, because they're scared of you or because they're understanding the importance of enriching everyone else, of enriching their life and enriching others' lives through conscious communication. And it gave very good tools. So again, in business, we can work it out. Resolving conflicts peacefully and powerfully. This is for family members. This is for business. They all get to the same point. They all have an awesome cheat sheet in the back. But it's just about what flavor you want on where you see yourself starting implementing this. Getting past the pain between this. Oh my gosh. If you have a relationship in your life that it's just like oil and water, right? No matter how calm you think you're going to be in a conversation, but it's just triggering and it's just, whew, powerful book. I bawled when I was reading this book, just bawled. Learned so much to help me. So being me, loving you, oh my gosh. But again, if you had to choose one, I love We Can Work It Out. If you want to look at it from a parenting perspective, Raising Children Compassionately. And then if you fall in love with it, sure, of course, pick up the larger book, right? And it's just so practical. It gives real life examples of how to incorporate this into our lives. Again, first for self-empathy, connecting with what's going on for us at a deeper level, so that we really can come up with a strategy to meet our needs. Second, so that when we communicate to others, we can be really clear on making requests that lets others actually help us meet our needs. And then third, hearing what people say, translating it, so that when we hear a no, what we realize no means is this is not going to help meet their needs. And so when I hear a no, I'm not even upset anymore. I'm like, oh, okay, so that means that I don't want them to do something that's not going to meet their need also. I don't want to have my needs met at the expense of their needs. So I can go to, oh, okay, so what are you needing right now? How are you feeling? What are you needing? And we can always take the time to come up with a strategy that meets both of our needs. Powerful, powerful transformational tool. So since this is apparently live in my Facebook group instead of on the 30-day accelerator, I am going to post it in the 30-day accelerator. And our action for today is not to go live in the group, but our action for today is to simply notice, to start being aware in our conversations today with what people are saying to you. And when they're speaking and using strategies or focusing on blame or judgments, to do that translation. And in our mind, not out loud, don't correct other people, but just start going, oh, so they must be feeling, and maybe get out the cheat sheet, maybe print that out. I wonder what they're needing right now. Sounds like they're probably just needing some understanding, or maybe they're just needing some sleep, or maybe they're needing some autonomy, some power, the feeling like they have some control. And just the act of that awareness is enough to shift us into empathy. And that is the ultimate goal of compassionate communication, is empathy. Empathy. We don't have to agree with someone to empathize, to understand where they're coming from, and to show them some respect, some love, and some empathy, and to connect in that way. And then we can actually do that with people who disagree with us, people who have a different opinion from us. And that is what Marshall Rosenberg was able to successfully navigate in many, many years of implementing this. So the action item for today is to start noticing that in your conversations today. To start, you got to start somewhere. This is a process. This is a new language. It is a new language. It's like learning Spanish or another language that you don't speak. And it has changed my life. Biggest tool that's changed my life. So start noticing today the language other people are speaking. Start noticing the language you're speaking. And when you notice that you're speaking in a language that's not NVC, first go to self-empathy. First recognize what your need is for right now. Give yourself some self-empathy. We're not able to give out what we don't have ourselves. It starts with us. And sometimes that means extracting yourself from a situation and saying, I would like to be able to empathize right now, but I'm realizing I'm not able to do that because I need some self-empathy first. I'm going to go offer that to myself, and I'm going to return to the conversation. And that's a really healthy way of doing it, and then we can come back and offer that to others. So anyway, obviously that was a little longer than I anticipated, but what's new? What's new? I hope you found value in it. I hope you're inspired to learn some more about NVC from Marshall Rosenberg, perhaps to order one of his pamphlets. I'll put the list in the Amazon link in here, and let me know how it's going for you. I would love to hear. Once you start listening this way, it changes everything. It changes everything. I love you all. I offer you all love and empathy. Have a great day.